imagine trying to save billions of dollars on your heating bill by completely gutting and renovating this massive 14-bedroom mansion.
Sounds expensive.
Right. But here's the catch. You refuse to actually move out of a single room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're just like shifting heavy furniture from room to room while the drywall literally comes down around you.
That sounds like a total nightmare.
It really does.
Ugh.
Anyway, welcome to Auto News Talk. If you're out there gripping a steering wheel right now and, thinking about your car as just this simple machine that gets you from point A to point B, you are really going to want to hear this.
Yeah, because behind the dashboard, the entire auto industry is going through this structural rewrite that is almost hard to fathom.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about a radical shift in how multi-billion-dollar global automakers operate, how they engineer the actual skeleton of your car, and how your local dealership is quietly morphing into this highly sophisticated, data-driven real estate empire.
It really requires a total recalibration of how we understand the business of mobility. Like, this isn't just about redesigning a bumper or updating an infotainment screen. We are looking at a true existential pivot here.
So here's the terrain we're walking through for this discussion.
Yeah.
We're going to start at the 30,000-foot view of global manufacturing, looking at a colossal financial and platform turnaround attempt by one of the world's largest automakers. Then we're going to basically bypass the corporate boardroom and zoom all the way down to the showroom floor, because we need to see how local dealerships are aggressively expanding their real estate footprints and, deploying advanced software just to survive this new reality.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, global manufacturing strategies and these localized retail software deployments, they're deeply intertwined.
Right.
A major architectural change at a factory eventually dictates the exact profit margins a local dealer tracks when you walk in to sign a finance contract.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's just jump straight into the deep end here. The 60 billion euro gamble.
Yeah, this is huge.
We have a global manufacturing titan trying to pivot its entire business model through some massive investments paired with just wildly aggressive cost cutting.
Yeah, one of the strategic overviews lays out this phenomenally ambitious turnaround plan. So this automaker is executing a 60 billion euro investment strategy, heavily weighting about 60% of their brand portfolio spending toward North America.
Okay.
But simultaneously, they are mandating a reduction of 6 billion euros in annual costs over a 5-year recovery period.
Wow. 6 billion.
Right. And the ultimate objective here is to pivot from a staggering multi-billion euro loss into positive free cash flow.
Hold on. Let's clarify that term for a second, just so everyone's on the same page.
Sure.
Positive free cash flow essentially means that, after they pay for every single thing, factory maintenance, employee salaries, new investments, debt, they actually have real, usable cash left over in the bank at the end of the month.
Precisely. It gives them breathing room. It is the oxygen a company needs to survive long term. Because without it, you're just borrowing money just to keep the lights on.
Yeah, but the mechanics of how they get that oxygen is what totally breaks my brain here.
It's a lot to process.
They are trying to save 6 billion euros a year, but they're stubbornly retaining all 14 of their global brands.
Right. From Jeep and Ram to Peugeot, Fiat, Alfa Romeo, Maserati.
Every single one. They refuse to kill a single brand. And here's a detail from that overview that genuinely left me scratching my head. They plan to cut over 800,000 units of manufacturing capacity without actually closing down any plants.
Yeah, that's the part that really stands out.
I mean, they want to achieve this through platform consolidation, repurposing existing plants, and leaning on new partnerships. They specifically cite Leapmotor and Dongfeng Group to kind of share the manufacturing load.
Which, raises an important question, and frankly, the corporate overview leaves this wide open.
What's that?
Well, how do you physically reduce output by 800,000 cars without locking the gates at a single major facility?
Right, because keeping a factory open is a massive fixed cost. You have to heat it, light it, maintain the machinery, pay the local property taxes.
Yeah.
And that's regardless of whether it pumps out 1 car or 1,000 cars.
Exactly. The ground-level mechanics of reducing capacity without closures usually involve drastically slowing down assembly line speeds or eliminating shifts.
Like going from 3 shifts to 1.
Yeah. A plant that used to run 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, might drop down to a single daytime shift. But doing that completely destroys your efficiency metrics.
Oh, obviously.
So the alternative, which they really seem to be banking on here, is a radical retooling process. Instead of one factory making one specific SUV, they're trying to standardize the underlying architecture so multiple, wildly different vehicles can roll down the exact same assembly line.
Which brings us to the actual metal and wires. To understand how they even attempt this financial magic trick, we have to look at the engineering roadmap.
Yeah, another piece of the puzzle zeroes in on the technology. Extreme standardization seems to be the only way to survive this transition.
Right, because while they're keeping all 14 brands alive, they're concentrating 70% of their brand spending on just 4 core marks.
Right. Jeep, Ram, Peugeot, and Fiat.
So to make the math work across the entire global portfolio, they're rolling out a singular, highly scalable vehicle architecture called the STLA-1 platform.
And consolidating onto fewer platforms creates a targeted 20% cost efficiency gain.
That's massive.
It is. But the engineering embedded in the STLA-1 platform goes far beyond just a shared metal frame. The technical specifications point toward the deployment of steer-by-wire systems and cell-to-body structural battery integration.
I really want to stop and look at those two technologies because they sound like sci-fi, but they're, about to be sitting in your driveway.
Yeah, they're very real.
So steer-by-wire means there is no longer a solid metal steering column physically connecting your steering wheel to the front tires.
Right, it's totally electronic.
When you turn the wheel, you're basically using a video game controller to send an electrical signal to a computer, which then tells a motor to turn the wheels.
And I know it sounds unnerving to some drivers, but the manufacturing logic is undeniable.
How so?
Well, removing that physical steering column frees up an immense amount of space under the hood. It reduces the vehicle's overall weight, and crucially, it makes it incredibly easy to switch a car from left-hand drive for the US market to right-hand drive for the UK or Australia.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it is a massive efficiency unlock for a global automaker.
And the other one, cell-to-body structural batteries. Let's explain how this completely changes the manufacturing process. Because, for the last century, a car was built by taking a steel frame and dropping components into it.
Right.
Even early electric vehicles just took a giant heavy metal box full of batteries and bolted it into the floor of an existing chassis. But cell-to-body means the battery casing actually acts as the floorboards and the structural skeleton of the car.
Exactly. The battery itself provides the physical rigidity of the vehicle. If you think about early cell phones, you could pop the back off and replace the battery.
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
Now, smartphones are sealed units where the battery is glued in as part of the phone's structural integrity, making the whole device thinner and lighter. Automakers are doing the exact same thing to SUVs.
The manufacturing speed must be incredible. You just snap a standardized battery floor into a standardized wheelbase, and then you drop a Jeep body or a Peugeot body or an Alfa Romeo body on top of it.
Literally snapping pieces together.
And they're also unifying their software stacks, rolling out centralized digital systems called Brain, Smart Cockpit, and AutoDrive. It's like build one incredible technological skateboard and put 14 different hats on it.
Right. But what this doesn't answer is the complex psychology of the car buyer.
Oh, interesting.
Because standardization is brilliant for the manufacturer's bottom line, but it carries a severe risk of brand dilution. How easily can an automaker convince consumers to accept standardized, shared digital interfaces across vastly different brands?
That's a good point.
You have a rugged Jeep designed for off-road rock crawling, and you have a luxury Maserati designed to cruise the Amalfi Coast. If the touchscreen user interface, the autonomous driving behaviors, and the underlying digital brain feel identical in both vehicles, do you destroy the prestige that allows you to charge a premium for the Maserati?
Here's where it gets really interesting, because that brings up a massive friction point in their retail strategy. How does this corporate obsession with standardization translate to the actual vehicles hitting the dealership lots?
Yeah, it's a huge shift.
Looking at the specific product pipeline, they're attempting what looks like a total barbell approach.
Okay.
They are targeting the absolute extreme edges of the consumer market and essentially abandoning the middle.
Yeah, the automaker has mandated a 35% sales growth target in North America. To hit that number in a market that is largely stagnant, they are playing directly to the market's bookends.
The extremes.
Right. Heavily targeting hyper-budget conscious shoppers on one side and ultra-high-end enthusiasts on the other.
The contrast is completely jarring. On the affordability end of the barbell, they are promising to expand their lineup with 9 different vehicles priced under $40,000. And they specifically mentioned driving volume with crossovers dropping below the $30,000 mark.
That's aggressive pricing.
Extremely. But simultaneously, on the other end of the showroom, they're leaning incredibly hard into ultra-profitable, high-performance SRT models as their halo vehicles.
Well, the automotive business heavily relies on the psychology of the halo car. The profit margins on those extreme performance vehicles are exorbitant, and they serve as moving billboards for the brand.
And when we say extreme performance, we're not talking about a racing stripe and some sporty red seat belts. The pipeline data highlights a new Ram Rumble B lineup, specifically pointing to an upcoming flagship SRT Hellcat.
The specs on that are wild.
It's a pickup truck boasting a mind-boggling 777 horsepower, engineered for a 170-mile-per-hour top speed, a pickup truck that goes 170 miles an hour.
It's absurd, right? But this barbell strategy is a highly calculated spectacle. It is designed to maximize showroom foot traffic from entirely different economic spectrums to encourage cross-pollination.
How does that work in practice?
The underlying logic assumes you draw the crowd in with the 777 horsepower monster displayed in the front window. A family comes in to look at it, realizes they obviously can't afford a $100,000 super truck, but while they are captivated on the lot, the sales team pivots them into driving away with that sensible, sub-$30,000 crossover.
So what does this all mean for the brand identity? I look at this and I see massive brand whiplash. You are trying to be the ultimate budget-friendly, sensible choice and the ultimate gas-guzzling, tire-shredding performance brand under the exact same corporate umbrella, sold by the exact same salespeople.
It's a lot of mixed messaging.
That causes immense friction. Plus, while they boast about the horsepower of the flagship truck, the details on those crucial volume-driving affordable crossovers remain really vague.
Very true.
Like, there are no specific model names or firm launch timelines attached to those sub-$30,000 vehicles in the pipeline data.
Right. The vision from the corporate boardroom is clear, but the execution relies entirely on the people actually moving the metal. Who is dealing with this highly polarized, standardized yet complex lineup?
The dealers.
Exactly. We need to shift our focus down to the street level. We are seeing a major transition where local dealerships are quietly evolving into regional real estate powerhouses just to manage the scale of modern auto retail.
A localized market report from Florida illustrates this shift perfectly. Dealership footprints are expanding strategically into high-growth geographic regions, and they're treating these locations as vital real estate plays, not just, places to park cars.
Yeah, the report specifically focuses on Jenkins Auto Group acquiring a Kia store in Cocoa, Florida. The dynamic of the transaction is really revealing.
Yeah, well, let's break that down.
The sellers are realigning their portfolio to consolidate around their core Georgia markets, while the buyers, Jenkins, are aggressively expanding to capitalize on a booming local microeconomy.
I love looking at the underlying drivers of these microeconomies. The expansion of this specific dealership group is directly supported by the aerospace-related development boom happening right there on Florida's Space Coast.
Right.
When aerospace companies move in, they bring high-paying engineering jobs, infrastructure, and an influx of new residents who all need transportation. And crucially, this dealership acquisition includes the underlying real estate.
They aren't leasing a temporary lot on the side of a highway. They are buying into the permanent infrastructure of a booming economic zone.
It's a huge commitment.
It signals a massive shift in the retail mindset. Modern dealership owners are executing highly strategic, long-term geographic portfolio management. They act more like land barons or venture capitalists who just happen to sell vehicles as their primary revenue stream.
Though I have to point out the frustration of not having the full picture here. The financial terms of that Jenkins acquisition were not disclosed.
That's always the tricky part.
Yeah, so we are left entirely in the dark, wondering just how high of a premium is required to secure a lucrative auto franchise and the commercial real estate in such a rapidly expanding market like the Space Coast. It cannot be cheap.
Oh, it requires massive capital. And once you acquire that sprawling, multi-state dealership empire, the operational complexity becomes a total nightmare.
Oh, I bet.
You have inventory from different manufacturers, operating in different local economies, managed by different regional staff.
Which brings us to the nervous system of the entire operation. Like, how do you actually run a mega dealership without losing your mind?
It's all about the software.
Another source zooms in on the operational side of these mega dealers, revealing that dealership owners are increasingly turning to advanced business intelligence or BI software to unify their chaotic data.
Right.
Specifically, a platform called Pinewood AI has released new finance and customer modules explicitly designed to give dealers one version of the truth.
Let's contextualize what one version of the truth actually means in this environment. In a massive retail operation, the service department tracking repairs might use one software system, the sale floor pushing new cars uses another, and the accounting department uses a third.
And they don't talk to each other.
Exactly. They are constantly arguing over which numbers are accurate. This BI software acts as a central nervous system. It combines operational data with CRM, customer relationship management data.
So it tracks everything.
The entire life cycle of a customer, from the moment an internet lead is generated, through the showroom negotiation, straight into the finance office, and years down the line into the after-sales service and parts department.
The way I think about this software is like turning a dealership from a chaotic, old-school farmer's market into a modern supermarket.
That's a good analogy.
Right. At a farmer's market, every individual stall has its own cash register, its own ledger, and no one knows what the person next to them is making. This software brings in one central barcode scanner for the entire operation. The practical impact is massive. The software claims to save up to 10 hours per dealership, per week, simply by eliminating manual spreadsheet assembly.
And that efficiency unlock allows these mega dealer groups to compare performance seamlessly across all their new geographic acquisitions.
It makes scaling so much easier.
Yeah, they can instantly see if the new store on the Space Coast is converting leads at the same rate as their established store in another state, completely avoiding conflicting interpretations of their profit margins.
But, there's always a catch with enterprise tech. The announcement of this major software update came without disclosing any pricing models or rollout timelines.
Right, the barrier to entry is completely unknown.
Exactly. Is this powerful data tool only accessible to the massive, well-funded dealership groups that can afford to buy up prime real estate on the Space Coast? Or can the smaller, independent, family-owned dealers afford to play in this high-level, data-driven space?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because if they can't, they are going to get swallowed whole by the mega dealers.
What's fascinating here is how these completely different layers of the auto industry are mirroring each other. When we step back and analyze all of this material, three massive unified themes emerge.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, consolidation for efficiency. We see this at the highest global manufacturing level, with the automaker pouring massive investments into sharing the STLA platforms and digital architectures across 14 different brands to save money.
Right, from the first source.
And we see the exact same impulse at the hyperlocal retail level, with tools like Pinewood's BI software consolidating fragmented dealership data to eliminate chaotic spreadsheets.
And the second theme is this highly targeted geographic strategy. Nobody is throwing darts at a map anymore.
Correct. The manufacturer is surgically directing 60% of its brand and product spend straight into North America to chase higher profit margins.
And on the dealer side,
Meanwhile, at the retail level, we see dealership groups like Jenkins surgically acquiring real estate in booming microeconomies, betting heavily on the aerospace-driven expansion in specific Florida corridors. Both the factory and the dealer are placing highly specific geographic bets.
and the third theme is the extremes of the market. You have an automaker simultaneously pushing to launch 9 different sub-$40,000 affordable models, right alongside ultra-premium 777 horsepower performance trucks.
The bookends.
The middle ground, the standard, boring family sedan, is practically disappearing from the conversation entirely. But looking at all of this, the tensions here are immense. The friction between these different strategies is practically sparking.
The contradictions are glaring. The first major tension sits squarely within the corporate recovery plan itself. There is a profound mechanical contradiction in an automaker mandating massive €6 billion annual cost cuts, planning to shed 800,000 units of manufacturing capacity, but flat out refusing to kill off any of its 14 brands or definitively close any assembly plants.
It just doesn't add up.
That math requires a flawless, frictionless execution of global platform sharing that is historically incredibly difficult to achieve.
And the second tension is the massive disconnect between the corporate boardroom and the local showroom floor. You have an automaker banking on explosive, aggressive 35% growth targets, demanding dealers push massive volume.
Right, they want to move metal.
But down at the dealership level, owners aren't focused on explosive volume. They're desperately focused on back-end profitability, real estate acquisition, and deploying time-saving software just to manage their current chaotic workloads without drowning in spreadsheets. The manufacturer wants a volume revolution. The dealers just want their accounting numbers to match.
It perfectly illustrates the inherent friction between the entity building the machine and the entity tasked with selling it.
So, to translate this all for you, the listener, what is the practical takeaway from all of this? If you're in the market for a car soon, expect a highly polarized shopping experience.
Very polarized.
You are going to be presented with budget-friendly, standardized platform crossovers sitting directly next to extreme six-figure performance monsters. And all of this is going to be sold to you by increasingly massive, heavily consolidated regional dealership chains.
Armed to the teeth with data.
Exactly. These mega dealers are armed with business intelligence software that tracks every single interaction you have, knowing exactly how much profit they are extracting from you at every stage of the vehicle's life cycle.
They will have absolute clarity on your lifetime value as a customer, optimized entirely for their bottom line.
But that raises a final thought I want to leave you with. If dealerships now have software tracking the exact down-to-the-penny profit they make off your car over a 10-year lifespan, factoring in every oil change, every brake job, every financed interest payment, how long until the dealership is willing to sell you the actual car at a massive upfront loss just to acquire your service data and lock you into a decade-long subscription ecosystem?
Oh, wow. The car itself just becomes the Trojan horse for the software.
It totally changes the definition of what they're actually selling.
It really does.
Well, that wraps up this segment of Auto News Talk. The auto industry isn't just changing what you drive. It's fundamentally changing the architectural skeleton of how the machines are built, the data tracking your every move, and the massive real estate empires where these vehicles are sold.
Absolutely.
Keep all of this in mind the next time you walk onto a dealership lot. Are you seeing those promised affordable crossovers front and center, or are you just being drawn in by the high-margin 700-plus horsepower performance trucks? Until next time, keep your eyes on the road and the showroom floor.